Hello, YouTube! Today we are going over our Spellshot Brrzerker build, Chillmonger. The name of this build is going to be Persephone, after Hades' wife from Greek mythology. And the main idea of this build is taking advantage of Pixies and as much uptime on our Hydra spells as we can. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the build. So starting off, we are using Feriores with the thrown weapon transforms into a Pixie. I found myself really preferring the Fear Knots and the Bloodshot. The SMG is quite good. However, I just really found myself preferring the pistols for my own personal play. However, the SMGs and the shotguns are very excellent, and you're not going to notice much of a difference. So kind of play around with those and figure out what fits your playstyle better. Now on those, ideally we're looking for the spellcast increase elemental damage. However, if you get a spellcast increase specific elemental, that will also work. Again, I wanted to use the Goblin Pickaxe specifically for the spell cooldown, and while the capstone we'll go over in just a second is much better for spell cooldown, it is nice to have both the movement speed from the Goblin Pickaxe and, of course, the spell cooldown if we are not able to get a critical hit to help reset our spell. Now, on rings, I found myself kind of preferring the silicone ring for the above 50% health effect, adding the extra 25% for being above 50% of health. And I went with one for companion damage and one for spell damage. Companion critical hit damage and spell critical hit, passives on one, and companion critical hit. And unfortunately, the action skill duration is not helping us out on this. So ideally, you would look for a different secondary passive on your second ring here. For ward, I wanted to go with the Master Rune, specifically because of the increased companion damage by 25%. And with all of your melee, your weapon, your spells, you can kind of interlock the enchant. However, on this, we got the spellcast increase gun damage. Now, because we are using Ambihextrous, you do want to avoid the action skill duration or action skill start enchants. So you do want to kind of look for those spell cast enchants for this set. For armor, we went with the Amalgam, Spellshot preferred, Brrzerker secondary, and the main three things we were looking for here is all damage dealt, gun damage, and companion damage. If you could find one, changing ability crit hit chance out for spell damage and regenerate missing health for either gun, companion, or spell critical damage, that would be great. For Amulet, I am changing out between the joint training for the increase to critical hit chance for companions and critical hit damage for the Fate Maker. The Skeep, for basically the Skeep heals you while it's out, and if you are downed, you can kill your Skeep and get yourself back up for a Save Your Soul. And of course, for increasing our loot luck, having the Brad Luck is a great just passive amulet. Now for spells, you can kind of change out a lot on your Hydra spells. I found myself preferring the ones that had 2 spell charges, and the ability summons a Hydra companion that will spawn another Hydra whenever an enemy damaged by it is killed. Has a small chance to spawn an additional Hydra when damaging a boss. So that is the passive I found that I really liked. However, any of them are really great. If you can find an elemental blast that summons Hydras, that's a lot of fun. And the defending Hydras are also a lot of fun. Basically, they attack anything that's nearby them, so they have like an AoE attack. And one of the other ones that's a lot of fun is the multi-headed, which will fire more projectiles. Now, because I am running Brrzerker secondary, which was done for a couple of reasons, so I wanted to avoid Graveborn because of the Thralls glitch that is going on right now. Whenever that glitch is fixed, I might come back and revisit this build with the Graveborn companion boosts. However, because there's a glitch with that, I did not want to showcase that particular build setup. And the Spore Warden, I also did not really want to go with that. Wanted to kind of do something a little different for my particular companion setup to showcase the damage on the Pixies a little better. So in the skill tree, we of course have Spell Weaving and Rage of the Ancients for our perks. Spell Weaving is going to increase our spell damage 10% per stack, and with all of the skill tree that we did, we end up with 11 stacks total, allowing us to have 110% extra spell damage. We are using Ambihextrous so that we can double up on our spells, allowing us to better stack Spell Weaving, which is stacked with spell use or reloading our weapon. So Feriore and Ambihextrous really combine really well to help with your spell weaving. So in the Spellshot skill tree, we picked up 3 in Magic Bullet, allowing us to have 45% of our spell damage for gun damage, meaning we get 45% of that 110% of spell damage from spell weaving, also as gun damage. Now, the other great benefit there is that Pixies also count as spell damage, so they get spell damage, companion damage, and gun damage. So we are getting a bunch of boosts for our Pixies with this particular setup. We pick up 5 in Spell Sniper for increase in spell critical hit chance, 1 in Mage Armor, and 1 in Glass Cannon, and these kind of go together. Glass Cannon is going to give you a base increase of 30% of spell damage, but you are not able to recover or recharge your ward. So you want to pick up Mage Armor so that anytime you are casting a spell, you are getting 10% of your ward restored. And that is one of the reasons I preferred the double cast or 2 casts on the Hydra setup we have, because with how much spells were coming back, we are almost always having spells up, meaning we are constantly throwing those spells down to continuously stack our spell weaving, to restore our ward, and to trigger our on-spell casting chance. We pick up 5 in Just Warming Up for the increase in fire rate, 5 in Imbued Weapon, so that anytime we are using a spell, we get extra gun damage, and we do get this stacked twice with being able to use the Ambihextrous for 2 different spells. High thread count for the extra spell weaving stacks, and this is how we are getting up to 11 in our spell weaving stacks, because with the 1 we get from our armor, we are able to add 6 to our base 5 spell weaving stacks. 3 in Double Knot for the bonus gun damage, so anytime we hit a critical hit, we are getting extra gun damage from our Hydras. 1 in 1 slot 1 kill for the increase to gun damage per spell weaving stack, allowing us to go up to a 44% extra gun damage stack. And of course, we pick up Sever the Thread, so that anytime we are hitting critical hits with our guns, we are instantly resetting our spell cooldowns, and we do have a 15% chance for that to proc. Now, when that does proc, we do have to wait 5 seconds for there to be another 15% chance for that to proc. However, with having 2 casts of your Hydras, you do have roughly 3 to 5 seconds with throwing your Hydras down, throwing a couple, shooting and throwing a couple Furiors out so that you can, again, get this proc pretty quickly. Now in Brrzerker, we're getting Rage of the Ancients, which allows us to have Enrage, which will give us bonus frost damage. We are picking up 5 in Ancestor Frost for the extra frost damage, 3 in Icebreaker, which is an absolutely great skill. So you might read it as when they're frozen, I'm getting 30% extra damage. However, anytime they are slowed at all, so if you have any frost dot on an enemy, they are taking extra damage. So just using a frost gun at all is getting us extra damage with the skill. 5 in the Old Ways for the bonus damage and damage reduction based on how close the enemies are to us. So we both are reducing the damage we take and increasing the damage we give whenever they get closer to us. We have 2 in our armor for instinct, so we don't actually have any points on here, but that does give us 8% extra reload just from our armor. 3 in cold snap for better movement speed and frost efficiency, and of course, whenever we're enraged, that does get doubled. Movement speed in any skill tree is always a great pickup. If you see movement speed in the skill tree, go ahead and spec into that skill. And we pick up Restless Rage so that we have a little bit longer on our Save Your Soul. Kind of like Borderlands 3, whenever we're down and we're shooting an enemy, it does fill that meter back up. And it does have some diminishing returns, so you're not able to just stay up always if you're shooting an enemy. The other great thing about that is if we kill an enemy while we're in Save Your Soul, we also become enraged, which gives us that bonus frost damage. And of course, when we're enraged, we get the bonus for our movement speed and frost efficiency as well. Now that last point is kind of arguable between unarmored defense and Blood Frenzy. Personally, I picked up Blood Frenzy just because I like having the health regen. Whenever you're killing an enemy, you get a little bit of health back. However, unarmored defense is an absolutely wonderful skill, especially if you're in Chaos Chambers and you like to pick up the Trust in Magic curse. It just makes your health skyrocket, so it's a great pickup and absolutely worth either of these points, whatever your preference is for your playstyle. Now, myth ranks we don't have maxed out yet, and whenever I do end up maxing out all of the points in the base myth ranks, I am probably only going to put about 10, maybe 15 in the capstones of these, because currently they do not have a cap, and I don't want that no cap to change how my builds look. Just because, if you put in 100 points here, you're getting 100% extra melee damage. That's kind of artificially inflating what the build looks like. So that being said, we'll go over those real quick. We've got 10 in intelligence, 19 in critical hit damage, which we've got spell critical damage, which we haven't capped yet. We capped frost and status effect chance at 30. We have 10 in strength and constitution. We capped dark magic at 30. And we are currently working on melee swing speed at 16. Melee critical chance and damage we've got at 2 and 1%. Dexterity we have at 10. Gun handling at 3. We've capped both movement speed and reload speed at 25 and 20%. And we are currently working on magazine size, which is at 6%. On wisdom we have 10. Our companion damage isn't maxed, however, we only have 3 points left, so that'll cap out at 30%. Excuse me. Attunement at 10, we've capped out loot luck at 100%, and we have 1.5% in poison damage. Guys, that has been the showcase and the build itself. If you have any questions, let me know. If there's a certain build you'd like to see in the future, I'd be more than happy to take a look. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment down below. It really helps out move the video forward and help us bring you some more content. That, guys, I've been your local Sassy Swinlaw. Stay classy, Bright Hoof.